465 6520.
Good day, YouTube. Today I want to talk about you being different from me and vice versa. Everybody is different. This is an observation that I've made. Obviously, it's not rocket science. All it is that I like to watch people when I interact with them and see the similarities and the differences and how sharp they are, or sometimes when they're not sharp. I'll begin by saying that my wife and I, even though we've been married for 20 years and have a lot of similarities, perfect example of how her and I are completely different as well. And I've heard Dave Ramsey say in the past, if two people are exactly the same, one of them is not needed, and it's true. So let's talk about what I think, how we're different. Here's the thing. I like to observe people, like I said just a moment ago, and see what I can learn from them. At the same time, I can see what works for them, but not works for me. Or I'm going to see through an observation what works for me, but what doesn't as well, in the sense that as I get older, I've changed. When I was 24 and joined the Air Force, needed some guidance and some discipline and this and that. Fast forward 10 years later, I can tell you that I changed, but I changed in a better way where by then I was more experienced and a little bit wiser, and I knew what worked and what didn't. Fast forward 10 years later, now that I'm 44, I guarantee you that I'm a different person than I was when I was 34, and especially 24, because with age comes wisdom. But at the same time, it's not always automatic, or it doesn't always happen. Have you ever noticed someone that, let's just say they're struggling for whatever reason? Maybe it's relationship, maybe it's work, maybe it's finances, whatever that struggle is. And they should know better, hopefully. But that's the thing, people are different and people think different. Just like the previous video, I talked about money personalities. Personalities in general are different. You have some people that are focused on doing whatever they want to do on their time off, whether it's being outside, whether it's just maximizing life. You have people who are career people who think about work, and may work 12 hours a day. That's not me. I enjoy my job, but when it's time to go, it's time to go. When I was a civilian for the Air Force, I would get off at 4 o'clock. And you can guarantee that my door was closing at 4 o'clock and I was walking out. There was always an exception. If I was with the customer, I would stay later. But when it's time to go for me, it's time to go home. And I want to get to my life. I enjoy my job. I've enjoyed my jobs. But at the same time, I enjoy my life outside of work as well. My wife is in Los Angeles right now, and I had the weekend out to myself with these 5 animals that we have here. And I had a friend come over and hang out with me Friday night and Saturday. Today he went home. He's also in the Air Force. And we got to do a lot of cool things. We went to an Air Force football game yesterday for free. He had some free tickets. We did some go-kart riding today. I wish I would have filmed that, but I couldn't because I had to be driving. But even with my friend, even with my family, even with my coworkers, I'm going to see the differences. All I could say is that for me, I know what works and what doesn't. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to make mistakes in the future or that I'm done making mistakes. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for where I am in my life, I know what I want and what I don't want. I know, for example, we had lunch today and the food was not good at all, but we were both hungry, so we ate it. And he brought it up to the waitress, to the server, and said, you know what, this is nothing against you, but the food was not good. And I was not in the mood to even talk about that at the time. And she said, I'm so sorry about that. Let me go get my manager and he'll come over. And I told my friend, you know what, I'm gonna be outside. And he said, you know what, but don't you want to talk to the person? And sometimes I will, sometimes I don't, but I said, no, I don't. I want to be outside. It wasn't that bad, but I just don't want to deal with it. And that's an example of what I do want and what I don't want. And that's going to change sometimes. But in life, where are you? That's the question that I have. Are you on track? Are you still trying to figure it out? Have you already figured it out? What works for you? What doesn't? The reason I ask that question is because you don't have to answer that to me, but it's something for you to think about. It's a very good question or questions in the sense that hopefully we are enjoying life, even though life can be challenging. Hopefully we can maximize our life and are learning through life. And that's the good thing, is that hopefully I'm always going to learn in life. It's not like I figured it out, because I haven't. I'm always going to be a work in progress. My wife and I say that all the time. But I love to learn and to see how I can make my life better, how I can make my job better as well, how I can be productive. And that is something that in the last month, my job at work for 3 out of those 4 weeks have been extremely stressful. And I didn't like that. It was to the point that I was thinking to myself, I'm going to do the last year and a half on active duty, and then I'm going to come back to Peterson Air Force Base, to my civilian job, where the stress level is a lot lower, but the pay is also a lot lower. So here's what I had to do, is I had to make adjustments. And the last week, this past week, was a lot better, Monday through Friday. It wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better. And that is an example of knowing what I want, what I don't want, and I have to make adjustments, because part of the stress was because I wasn't understanding this or that. So I made adjustments, and it made it a lot better. Where are you? Are you where you want to be? Sometimes we get to learn from the best teachers. That could be our parent or parent figure or parents. Sometimes we don't. And I could tell you that I grew up in a family that my parents were divorced by the time that I was 5, 6 years old. So I grew up a mama's boy. There are things that I can't do. I'm not good with my hands. I'm not mechanically inclined. Yes, I can paint a house, change a screen door, things like that, basic things, but I can't do a lot of the things that maybe guys, for the most part, who were raised by their father or with their father can do. I don't know how to do that. The good news is that I was able to learn from my mom what I did, and I've been able to say, you know what, maybe I can't do that, but I can hire someone to do that. That's the good thing about life, is it's about making adjustments, your vision, your outlook, my outlook, and saying, hey, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is what I don't want to do. Let me end it with this. We were at a place called Cave of the Winds. And if you want to look it up on YouTube, other people have made videos on something called, instead of pterodactyl, like the dinosaur, pterodactyl. And we went with my friend that stayed here for a few days. And he goes, I want to do that. And I was like, okay. I looked it up on YouTube. I was like, I don't know that I can do it. We left my house today, and I was a little bit nervous, and I didn't tell him that. But I said, I'm going to go look at this place. It's like a free fall, 2 people at a time. And as soon as I got there, it was beautiful. And you'll see a little bit of that video, but not of the actual pterodactyl, because I didn't do it. And I said, I can't do it. I'm afraid of heights. That's something that I just, I get like vertigo, dizziness, just by walking near a high altitude place. Does that mean I can't fly in an airplane? No, because I don't even think about that. I just sit down and go for the ride. But I wasn't able to do it. My friend who was here is a great guy, and I asked him, do you think you're an adrenaline junkie? And he said, I am. He loves doing all that. So what we did was go-karts. That's how we spent our morning. But people are different. You and I are different. My wife and I are different. Even though we have a lot of similarities, people think different. That's the beauty of life. There are different styles, different people. Where are you? And hopefully you maximize your life. You make the most of your day. And life is not going to always be sweet. It can be sour. But it's what we do whenever we have something, a challenge that we come across. Have a great day. Take care.